the last time that I did this, I didn't click go live, and so it didn't record. So I'm waiting. Okay, now it says go live. Today, we want to talk about free government training resources out there for small businesses. This is based on a conversation that I recently had with one of my podcast guests, Orlando Espinosa. Orlando, his company is Eminem Media, and his company actually does workshops, training for government municipalities, government agencies, and cities alike. And so he's the one behind creating some of the workshops and events that you guys see when you're going out there and you're attending these particular seminars. However, what I find is, and speaking with Orlando, it seems like there's not enough people participating in these particular events. And not only Orlando, but in talking to some people in my GovCon Giants group, some of my students who've been to workshops and conferences, and they see that the rooms are half empty. And what's mind-boggling to me is that people come on and they're asking me all the time about training and learning about proposal writing and team building and joint ventures and mentor proteges and all this stuff, how to put together the bid, how to do estimates, but they're not seeking out the training. There are, don't get me wrong, is a small fraction of people that are getting out from behind the couch, behind the computer, behind the desk, and seeking this information out. But far too many of you are not actually reaching out. And so the idea was I wanted to share my conversation with Orlando Espinosa, share with you some of the programs that are out there, and have a conversation about, why I think that's important, why it's instrumental to your success. I can tell you, when I first got started doing this, when I very first got started in this particular arena, I went to each and every seminar thing I could go to. I went to, if they did a webinar, I did it. If they had a seminar, if I did it, they had an in-person training, I did it. I mean, I went to everything that was offered and that was available. And it's funny because I was on the call yesterday with another guest from my podcast, Alexander Hernandez from Hernandez Consulting Instruction, who did 50 million last year. And he said the same thing. He said, look, Eric, I went to every class they offered, every webinar. He goes, I still do. And, that says a lot, right? Because he is the guy who is apparently, from the outside looking in, is sitting on top, right? He's on top with steady sales going up. He was in the Inc. 500, 5,000 list for 6 years in a row. And so he is still attending conferences and trainings and events, and he's still learning stuff. And he also mentioned that there was a book that he used to have recommended reading for all incoming employees. So again, training is fundamental, it's instrumental in at least developing your mind, developing the mind of your employees, and preparing them for what's ahead. Again, Orlando Espinosa, he co-founded Eminem Media, and Orlando actually comes from, he's been training for about 15 years now, and his particular organization teaches what's called the SBA Emerging Leaders Program. And the SBA Emerging Leaders Program, let me find it on here for you guys. There it is. The SBA Emerging Leaders Program, pull it up on the screen. This is an initiative that was put together by the SBA. The curriculum is based on another organization's curriculum that comes out of Boston, and it was a private curriculum that basically someone took, and they saw the effectiveness of it, that they actually decided, the SBA decided to partner with them and start offering these programs around the country. And literally at the time that Orlando and I were having the conversation, in Tampa, Florida, there were 6 spots available, right? 6 training spots still available in this SBA Emerging Leaders Program. For me, I can say this. When I was in business doing construction full-time, that was all I did, I was part of a group called EO, Entrepreneurs Organization. I started off in the Accelerator program, and then I moved up to the actual EO organization. I was accepted, and then I decided that I was going to go in a different direction. But for the few years, the 3 years I think it was, that I was in the Accelerator program with the EO organization, They were like a second family to me. They were there for me and the times where I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle certain situations. When people were pursuing me for litigation purposes, they were there. They had my back. I was able to experience share with other people. Now, this is not a free training, but it is an example of, for me, it was, someone else or other people, other companies, other entrepreneurs that I could turn to who understood my situation. A lot of times our spouse, family members, they don't understand what we're dealing with day in and day out. And your employees, you can't really talk to them. For me, the EO organization was there in times when I needed them the most. So again, there are organizations out there like EO Accelerator that will be available for helping entrepreneurs. Now, that's a paid particular program. But again, if you are looking to grow your business, if you are looking to expand your business, if you are looking to get into this government marketplace, these are the things that you're going to have to do. Aside from that, we talked about the 7J training. Now, the 7J training was one that was put together by the SBA. And on the 7J training, it was only offered to 8A companies. Now, what I did was, because I was consulting for an 8A company, they sent me to the training. So that's an idea, maybe a strategy that you guys out there can use. If you are a woman-owned business, hubs-owned business, or veteran-owned business, maybe you don't have 8A. You can find out if they will let you participate in the 7J training. And the 7J training really, actually, I think, yeah, I do. I still have. Proposal preparation and construction contract books. Look how thick they are. Turn them sideways. From my 7J training. And we're talking about, that was, like 2013. But again, when you talk about, well, Eric, how did you learn all this stuff? How did you know all this stuff? This is what I did. Ashley Bell, who was on my show a few weeks ago, said to me that it doesn't make sense for companies to be paying for services when there are already a lot of free options out there. And don't get me wrong, some are better than others, right? I'm sure we've all been to the trainings where we didn't feel like we got anything out of it. But at the same time, we still have to make the effort. You still have to show up. You still have to try and participate, because you're the one that needs the knowledge. You're the one that needs to learn this stuff. And what he mentioned to me was that the SBA program, the 7J training, the Emerging Leaders program, all of these different programs that the government has available, these initiatives that they're offering, right? This stuff is already being paid for by taxpayer dollars. So you've already paid for this stuff one time. So again, it doesn't make sense to go out and pay someone to do your registration. It doesn't always make sense to go out and pay someone to help you get the certification. A lot of these things are already being offered within the organizations that are sponsored by the government and by your tax dollars. Make sense? So again, I just thought I want to kind of touch on that. One last thing I did want to talk about is, people have asked me, Eric, do I offer any type of training? I do. At my website, govcongiants.com, I do have a training platform that I've created that goes through and talks to you about the steps of getting into this marketplace. And again, I just want to share that because people have asked me, Eric, and I'm surprised because I know I don't do a good job of marketing it. But we do have our own alumni groups from students. I actually go through and it's interesting. I have a free webinar that you can take, and it talks all about the training. It gives you examples of what you learn, things that you do out there. But even before that, you can go through my free webinar and just get a lot of information based on the free webinar. So again, there are resources out there that I thought that was worthwhile sharing. If you have any suggestions, comments, questions, anything that you want to hear, anything that you want to see me talk about, please make sure, hit me up on Twitter, Coffie. As always, if you haven't already, subscribe to the new podcast, GovCon Giants. Support us. We are doing everything possible to try and bring you great content, great people, great interviews, all of the information that's available. We're trying to make this thing seamless as possible, trying to help you, your employees, your team. And again, look, you don't if you don't have the time, have your employees do it. Remember what Hernandez in consulting said. He had his employees go do this stuff. When I was learning, the owners of the companies didn't go. I'm the one that went to the trainings. But today, right? Today, 10 years later, guess who's benefiting from having gone through that training? So one day, you, that person who took the time to go out and do it, will ultimately be the recipient of the final benefit for that. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.